You're watching the number one podcast in the YouTube wrestling community, and I'm your host, Jean Paul Leek, and this is Rope Break Family. Here we are right when the show ends because there's a huge snowstorm in Pennsylvania, and I am not going to work. So right when the show ends, yours truly is here with Monday Night Raw review. And this show, I really don't know how I felt about it. It was a fallout show from the Royal Rumble, and to touch on that, we had some technical difficulties. The Royal Rumble review is up now on the channel. We're so sorry, and we're just frustrated beyond belief that it took so long to get up, but it's finally there. So please, show your support like you always do and check out that video. We greatly appreciate it, on all the videos, especially on that one. So, but this, Fallout show for the Royal Rumble, it really didn't feel like anything special. We did see something cool, we no pun intended. It was cool. Maybe a new tag team for Jeff Hardy, who knows? But, other than that, I mean, the show, to me, the only legit thing, like I've been saying it since Royal Rumble build, I've been, and I'm going to keep saying it going forward, is the only thing that really feels legit is Edge. I mean, Drew was like here and everyone else was down here. But now that Edge came back, he's like not even on the chart for how legit he feels. And, everybody else, I mean, Randy Orton, obviously, like all the old time guys, but just the new stars they're trying to promote and bring up, nobody really feels special. But let's get into this review. And like I said, thank you all for your support. We appreciate each and every one of you. So Raw opens up. Drew comes out, he says that tonight marks the start of WrestleMania season. So it's no ordinary Raw. Then he says that the Royal Rumble was awesome for him and Goldberg. They got beat each other senseless. And Bianca, she solidified herself as the future. And then we get to the men's Royal Rumble match, and he had his eye on one in particular. And then Edge's music hits. He makes his way down to the ring. McIntyre says that from the day he came to America, Edge was there for him as a mentor and a friend, and that he was there when Edge retired, and it was an awful day. He said that last year he remembers being in the corner during the Rumble match, AJ choking him with his foot, and he hears, Edge's music, and he said it was, such a surreal moment. It was surreal for all of us, but again, I always say it was kind of ruined with the spoilers, so that really kind of took it away for me a little bit. Then Edge got injured again, and he thought that was it, but it wasn't, and Edge is back again and won the Royal Rumble, and he congratulates him. Edge says, thanks for the compliments, but that's not what he's here for, because he likes him, and he's like, what's wrong with you? And Edge says that he won the Rumble and that he's the biggest threat to Drew. So why is he complimenting him? He's like, you should have kicked my head off as soon as I stepped in this ring, knowing, pretty much the power that I have. And Drew says that it's something an opportunist would do, but that's not him. So he kind of makes a little shot at Edge, like, yeah, you were the opportunist, but I'm a legit champion, so I'll stare you, straight in the face. And Edge says that he's damn right, he's not him. So we see a little bit of heated confrontation there. I like that. Then Sheamus comes out and he says that Edge should be happy to get all the praise, but he's not happy because Edge is criticizing a man that carried WWE through uncharted times while he sat at home nursing a tricep. Sheamus asks Edge who he thinks he is and says he doesn't want to take the high road like Drew tells him to. It's okay, he's got it. Then he tells Edge to make a decision. Edge says that he's been in the game too long and he's an ultimate opportunist, and he'll make the decision when he's ready. Edge says McIntyre has a big target on his back and he's playing a dangerous game, and that he'll know when he's chosen, but whoever he chooses after leaving WrestleMania, or whoever he chooses, he'll be leaving WrestleMania as champion. And after Edge leaves, Sheamus hits Drew with a bro kick. So we go to commercial break. So good intensity from Edge. Like I said, Drew, kind of soft-spoken. I didn't like the kiss ass being a mark baby face, during all that. It's like, hey, be legit. Be like, okay, start of WrestleMania season. It should have just went right to Edge. Called out Edge. Are you challenging me? Are you not? Sheamus comes out. The Sheamus feud is too little too late, I want to say. I mean, okay, maybe it'll be the championship match at Elimination Chamber or Fastlane or something like that. I hope they at least give it a pay-per-view, because this is really what we should have got the Royal Rumble. Nobody wanted to see that awful match with Goldberg, but, it is what it is. Maybe they'll do some crazy title switch. Maybe we'll see The Miz finally cash in. We'll get Miz versus Edge at WrestleMania. Who knows? But, Edge, I would say with him being on Raw, I don't think we'll see him on SmackDown. I feel he'll go after the WWE Championship, but I won't say Drew McIntyre because I don't see Drew versus Edge being a WrestleMania match. So then, speaking of championship matches, we get the United States Championship, Bobby Lashley with MVP versus Matt Riddle. And this thing really wasn't even a match, to be honest. I mean, Riddle started out with some intensity, but Lashley quickly just got, the hurt lock on him, kind of on the ropes. So it was 1, 2, 3, the ref was counting, got to the 5 count. DQ, so technically Riddle won by DQ, so obviously no title switch or anything. And he just kept the hurt lock on him and was beating up Riddle, just throwing him around the outside. MVP was trying to calm him down. Hey, you're going to kill this man. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, you won. Just let it go. And, and you saw the electric flash there. So that's how you know how bad it is. That's why Jean Paul is coming to you right after the show. But, and it's just, it was crazy. It is just beating down Riddle. And he was just going insane. MVP was trying to stop him. Eventually, he calmed down and they walked away, but not before he put him in the hurt lock again and threw him over, the ringside barricade into the Thunderdome. So, or into the crowd of the Thunderdome, rather. So, I mean, I don't know. We'll see there. We say the whole storyline they're selling is Lashley's pissed. He's an untamed beast because he was favored to win the Royal Rumble, but I guess by him. And, he was eliminated pretty quickly, even though it took 4 men. So they're saying that he was such a threat. It took 4 men to eliminate him and all that stuff. So we'll see what they do. I really wouldn't mind if we saw Lashley, be the WWE champion going against Edge, spear versus spear. That'd be pretty cool, even though we say that with Rome and everything else. But yeah, well. And then we see after that, we see a replay of the kickoff show from last night where Charlotte and Asuka lost the women's tag team championships to Nia and Shayna Baszler. And of course, Ric Flair, all that stuff, yada, yada, yada. So then we see a white sports car pull up and, who comes out? Bad Bunny. So we see, like a big pile of bullshit with, Lacey Evans and all that storyline. If Juan was here, he'd love it, but he's not here. So I'm going to trash it. And then we see, even worse with Bad Bunny. So we know Raw is going to, it started out hot and downhill real quick. So then we get a return. We find the doctors checking on Riddle at ringside. He doesn't even know what happened. So, just again, really showing the intensity and the dominance of Bobby Lashley. So then we see Randy Orton backstage. He addresses Edge. He says he didn't think it was possible Edge would ever be back. Not only did he come back, but he entered number 1 and won the whole damn thing. So congrats. But the problem is he looks like a liar for telling the world Edge was gone for good. He did everything he could to put Edge, or he did everything to Edge out of love, beating him and all that stuff. It was so his wife, so he would go home and stay home. That's why he did it all. Keeps telling that same story that he was telling before. And he said he's not going to main event in WrestleMania because Edge has overlooked him. Tonight, there will be no mercy or compassion for Edge. So that pretty much set up what would be the main event, a singles match between Edge and Randy Orton. Then we see Kofi and Xavier Woods there backstage. Kofi's hyping him up for his match. Kofi says that Mustafa Ali's out of his mind. Pretty much just saying, oh, he blames me for everything that happened at WrestleMania, or that WrestleMania build, Elimination Chamber, all that. He's like, no, that was never meant for him. That was all me, hyping him up for this match. Xavier Woods with Kofi versus Mustafa Ali with Retribution. So there we go. I'll start saying Mustafa. I'll say it correctly because I'm a big fan of Ali. So this was, I don't know. This I really didn't get into because it's going to be the feud and Kofi's going to go over. If at the end of this thing, Ali would beat Kofi, he'd beat Xavier, and he would get something out of it, then legit. But they're not going to have him beat Lashley. He's not going to beat Drew. He's not going to beat any of the, win any of that stuff. Are they going to win tag team gold? Yeah, but to me, that's a consolation prize, is the tag team championships. You want to solidify yourself as somebody legit, you put singles gold on them. But I mean, this, like I said, I mean, the match was okay. Mustafa Ali is obviously a great wrestler. Xavier Woods is a good wrestler as well. So at the end of this thing, Ali looks for a tornado DDT, but Woods throws him off and hits a discus clothesline. Again, maybe another homage to Luke Harper. T-Bar then stops the pin attempt, but Kofi jumps onto his shoulders and onto Slapjack. Ali rolls Woods, but he counters it for a roll-up of his own and gets the win. So obviously you see some, there's, interactions, distractions, all that other actions, it going on in here. So we'll probably see a tag match of some sort in the next week or so. So then we get a promo for WrestleMania, which is only 68 days away. And Rope Break will be covering every single day up until and after. Then we get a replay. Is shown from the start of the show where Edge confronted McIntyre, and then Sheamus dropped WWE Champion with a pro kick. Then we get Miz and John Morrison. They come to the ring for an episode of Miz TV, everybody's favorite segment. And then he welcomes to the Most Talk show, blah, 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 blah. And then, he pretty much, just like, we want to clear the air. What happened last night, just beating around the bush until they finally introduce Bad Bunny. And the Miz says that he needs to clear the air for any misunderstandings that they had. And then we see obviously a replay where he destroys everything, the whole, his DJ setup, whatever the hell it is, he destroys it. The little button that he hits play on that plays his pre-recorded music, that's what Miz destroyed. And the Miz says that he heard that Bunny wants to be a WWE superstar. And, he says that it's true and it's one of his dreams. Miz says that he's the man who can take people to the top. And he can help Bunny to the main event of WrestleMania, and all they want in return is a record deal. Miz and Morrison then sing a rap. Bunny says that they are special, but he's not interested. Miz gets angry and asks if he knows who he's talking to. They're in his world, and he might not make it out of the ring. Bunny has some backup from former North American champion Damian Priest. So now we kind of see the first feud, for Damian Priest will be against Miz and Morrison, which him and Morrison will have legit matches. Him and Miz. Hey, Miz is Miz. That's the only thing I have to say about him. So Priest comes to the ring, immediately drops Miz with a big right hand. Miz and Morrison hightail it as we head to break. So then we get Damian Priest with Bad Bunny versus The Miz with John Morrison. So like I said, Miz is Miz. And I mean, this was okay. Good introduction, obviously, for Damian Priest. But I mean, for a feud, I don't know if he somehow can win the briefcase and cashes in, and and he wins a championship, hopefully WWE, and we see Priest versus Edge at WrestleMania, maybe a heel Priest, even though he's a babyface now. That would be something awesome. That would be completely unexpected, and it would be great. But are they going to do that? Probably not. Why would they listen to an idea from the best booker in the business? So at the end of this thing, Morrison gets on the apron to cause a distraction. Miz creates some separation, and he looks to grab the Money in the Bank briefcase, but Bad Bunny pulls it away. Morrison then approaches Bunny and threatens him, so Bunny hands the briefcase over. Then Morrison is hit with a microphone. Miz is stunned, and Priest grabs him from behind and hits the Reckoning for the win. So, like I said, decent match, but obviously the interaction and all that stuff, it wasn't needed. It took away from it, and Priest was the only thing that took us from shit to decent. So hopefully, a singles match with him and John Morrison, I think, will be even better. So then we see a replay of last week when Alexa Bliss challenged Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship, but it ended with Randy Orton returning and hitting Bliss with an RKO. Later in the night, we will see Alexa face off against Nikki Cross. So then we get the Raw Tag Team Championship match, the Lucha House Party versus the Hurt Business. This to me was completely out of nowhere. I didn't get this. So it's like, you have these guys chase the 24/7 championship, but then they're legit on NXT. And then we say that why they bullshit on Monday Night Raw. So now they're getting a championship match out of nowhere, which we knew they weren't going to win. But I mean, at least they look good in here. All four of these guys, fantastic. And I feel every time we see the Lucha House Party wrestle, they're better and better. And it's like, why don't you do something with these guys? You love to cash in on Rey Mysterio. And, I feel like they always try to target towards little kids. Little kids love mass superheroes. They love all that stuff. Why not try to sell the luchadors to them? Little kids will love that. It's flippy moves. It's high flying. It's masked wearing baby faces. I mean, I don't know what more you could even want to market to kids. But, hey, again, like I always say, what do I know? And, MVP was on commentary for this. I don't mind MVP on commentary. He's a lot better than Le Champion. So, but at the end of this thing, Metalik hits an amazing springboard arm drag onto Alexander. Then a Hurricane Rana. Dorado jumps off the ropes onto Benjamin, but is caught. So Metalik wipes them both out with a suicide dive. Then Metalik drops Cedric with a boot to the jaw and then tags in Dorado for a splash. Metalik hits a springboard swanton and covers, but Shelton breaks up the pin attempt. Cedric rallies, but Benjamin tags himself in, and he hits what does he call his move? The pay dirt, I believe. He hits the pay dirt for the 1, 2, 3. So, you kind of see they were working together for the most part, and normally that's Alexander's gig, who will tag himself in and be the cocky one to steal it. But this time it was Cedric who did it. So that was really cool. And I like that. Just because it's like, okay, you thought you'd get one up on me, young blood. No, it's me. So I like that. And I like how they still retain. They're not pulling the hot potato to, break up the Hurt Business just yet, which is good. Cedric is angry with Benjamin, but MVP tells him that, they won. So that's all that matters. Then we see Asuka and Charlotte. They cut a promo backstage. They say they're ready to avenge their loss for last night. Asuka says if it wasn't for Ric Flair, they would have won the match. But tonight, they won't get distracted. Does anyone believe that? No. And then they make their way to, the ring for a number one contender 3-way match, for the tag team championships for the women. So we get Charlotte and Asuka versus Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke and the new tag team, Lana and Naomi. So this was okay. All the women, we know what they can do. We know which team stands out far above the rest. And, like I said, Naomi's not bad. Lana is getting better. Is Lana good? No. Is she getting better? Yes. I will never be like, oh, this person is awful if I see improvement and they're trying to get better. And that's what I see with Lana. Mandy Rose she's not bad. And Dana Brooke, I don't really care for. Naomi's a good wrestler. And they're really going with the new team. You kind of thought, is this going to be a clean match? Is the team who, like I said, is worlds above everyone else, Charlotte and Asuka, are they the ones who are going to win? No, because we knew Lacey Evans was going to come out. So, like I said, at the end of this thing, we see, everyone is in the match at one time. They're all hitting their signature moves on each other. Charlotte hits a natural selection, but Ric Flair and Lacey Evans, of course, they come out. And Charlotte tags herself out to Asuka. Asuka's like, what the hell are you doing? So Charlotte goes to confront her dad and Lacey Evans. And while she's still, dumb baby face, like, what's going on? She gets a huge rear view from Naomi. And Naomi pins her, a really good pin, really pushing down on her. 1, 2, 3 for the win. So good stuff there. And, they're going to be the number one contenders. And to be honest, I would give it to them. Let Naomi have that gold. That would be cool. She was SmackDown Women's Champ, Tag Team Champ now. That's really cool for Naomi. Give Lana some gold. Like I said, just getting put through the table for 9 weeks in a row. She deserves at least this. So if they win, I'd be more than happy. And it's a good redemption story for Lana against the heel tag team. So then we get a commercial break. And when we come back, the WWE Champ is being interviewed by Charlie Caruso backstage. She asked how he's feeling. And Drew said that it would be an honor to face Edge at WrestleMania. And as for Sheamus, families fight all the time, and he and Sheamus have certainly fought before, but this was different. McIntyre addresses Sheamus and says that he's willing to throw away a 20-year friendship over the WWE Championship, then so be it. If he wants the match, he's got it. So like I said, please do it at a pay-per-view. Do not do it in 2 weeks on Raw or some kind of bullshit thing, because then, not that we think Sheamus is going to win. I mean, if he did, that would be awesome. But, just make it feel special. Just because they said 20 years of friendship, all this stuff, make it at a pay-per-view. So we see highlights of Carlito, his big return, everything, the whole, promos from back in the day, the vignettes, hype packages, all that stuff. So really cool, for Carlito. So that was, I'm going to keep saying it. That was cool. But then Carlito, he's him and Jeff Hardy versus Elias and Jackson Riker. And if this wasn't one of those matches that you go, I wonder who's going to win this in a condescending manner, then I don't know what is. Carlito, making his return, teaming with Jeff Hardy. They were pretty much, the young guys that were just in that stride in that time period in WWE. It's cool to put them together because you're not doing anything with Jeff. Like we said, Jeff is just lost. He's a whisper in the wind. He's just completely lost. And, you put him with Carlito. Good way to get Carlito kind of back in the system. Hey, Jeff, you're familiar with him, all this stuff. So, do I want to see a feud out of it? No, not really. I'd rather just see them both be baby faces. And then, maybe they go after the Hurt Business, since they were kind of beating the shit out of Jeff Hardy for the past couple of weeks. So at the end of this thing, we see Riker. He attempts a diving headbutt, but Jeff moves and then hits a mule kick before tagging in Carlito. He comes in hot with some back elbows to Riker, and then a kitchen sink and a knee our kitchen sink knee and a drop kick. Carlito kips up, but Riker kicks him in the guts and tags Elias. Carlito drops Elias, tags in Jeff, who hits a baseball slide onto Riker. Hardy hits a swanton to score the pinfall. So I believe he hit the backbreaker or the backstabber, excuse me, and then he tagged in Jeff, and then Jeff hit the swanton. So good stuff there. It might be, like I said, a weird tag team to do. People are like, oh, but it's just a good way to introduce Carlito. So I didn't have no problem with this. And I did not think that he would be, signing a deal, kind of like how MVP came back. And it may be like, let's see what happens. And look at the role that landed MVP. So Carlito, it could be something really cool. And I mean, he's all jacked as hell. So even if you give him a match with Lashley, to me, it's at least believable because he's not the skinny guy he was before. He almost bulked up twice as much. So I'm really looking forward to see what they do with Carlito. So then, after commercial break, we see a video package of Edge retirement, his return, feud with Randy Orton, everything. So good stuff there. Then Edge is backstage, and he says that he's torn. He's ecstatic because he won the Royal Rumble, but there's the black cloud hanging over him, called Randy Orton. Last night, Orton had the chance to go bell to bell just like he did, but instead he pretended he had an injury and tried to sneak to the back in the end, or tried to sneak back in at the end, excuse me. Orton is jealous, and he says that it's love that, everybody's like, oh, he's doing all this out of love. He's like, that's complete bullshit. And he says that he's not the man Edge is. Last night, Edge went an hour while Randy went 8 minutes. So yeah, he's beat up, but he has to put Randy Orton in his rear view, and so he can go on to win the championship he never lost. And tonight, that all ends. So that pretty much confirmed, the main event. Randy hinted it, and it was like, oh, yeah, tonight this ends. Edge said the same thing. Tonight it ends. But before we can get to that, we're going to see Alexa Bliss faces her former best friend. So this was, best friends versus best friends tonight, I guess, because we saw Drew and Sheamus. Then we're going to see Randy and Edge. But we also got to see this. Alexa Bliss versus Nikki Cross. So Edge is walking backstage before this match takes place, and Damian Priest approaches him. Edge says that he was impressed by him last night, and he looks forward to sharing the ring with him someday. Please do what I said. Give Priest the briefcase. He becomes WWE champ, and then we get this match. Then that someday will be sooner rather than later. And then we get Alexa Bliss versus Nikki Cross. So, I mean, this I like just because we're seeing Nikki on TV again, but it's just... Again, is Nikki going to win? No, because she has this whole gimmick with the Fiend and all that stuff. Alexa does. So you knew Alexa was going to win. And Nikki didn't look too good in the Royal Rumble. So I really don't know what they're doing. It's really just a complete up in the air with her. Don't be surprised if we don't see her again for 2-3 weeks after this. Because at the end of this thing, Cross, she's, all wired out. But she drops her with a clothesline. Then she attacks in the corner. Then the Funhouse music plays, and Alexa is back in her new gear, because before that, they did the whole thing where she goes from the Fiend to the Goddess, then back to the Fiend, and, she's laughing, but Cross runs in, and she gets tackled to the mat. Alexa then grabs her and hits the Sister Abigail with the DDT twist, kind of like she does her own little variation of it, and she wins 1, 2, 3. Anybody surprised? No. As Alexa is leaving, though, Randy Orton comes out, and he stops beside her on the ramp, and he doesn't look at her as he makes his way to the ring. They kind of just stop there and keep walking, The way that they, book it in some of this, weird stuff with the supernatural powers makes me think I'm watching some kind of anime or something. It's hilarious. But then we get Edge versus Randy Orton. Here we are, main event. And this match was really good. There's no way that these two, again, won't put on a good match. And even if the match isn't a 5-star classic, just, move for move, from bell to bell, if you have a great story and a great feud, it just kind of gives it like a +1, if you know what I mean. But if you go in there and you have a fantastic match that has no story, no build, no nothing, yeah, it was good, but, why should I be invested? These two make you feel invested, and this was really good. And they gave it, a good amount of time for just a main event that was just kind of, here you go. I mean, it had the story, but there was no announcement. No, they didn't say, oh, yeah, these two, at the end of the Rumble, oh, this will be the main event for Monday Night Raw. And no, there's no kind of hype for it in that sense, but the feud was there. But just really good match. And at the end of this thing, they both go up, and Orton attempts an RKO, but Edge counters with the Edge-O-Matic to get a near fall. Orton rolls to the apron and stands with his back to the ring, so Edge shoulder tackles him, sends him flying into the barricade. Edge rolls out to chase after Orton and gets him inside the ring, but as Edge attempts a pin, Randy rolls out on the other side. Orton then leans and the announce desk when Edge nears and Randy sticks a thumb in his eye. Randy then hits a back suplex onto the announce desk and drags Edge off and back into the ring. Orton puts Edge under the bottom rope and catapults him in the throat first. Orton then drags Edge over the middle rope and hits a draping DDT. Orton is ready and he drops to the mat, doing the whole RKO, hype up thing. And then as soon as he's about to, do it, boom, creepy music hits. And then Alexa Bliss, she's on the top rope with black goo pouring out of her mouth. Orton is, distracted. What the hell's going on? Edge hits the spear. Boom. 1, 2, 3, and wins. So we see Randy Orton and the Fiend. That's not over. And we see this, Edge gets the win, which he deserves. And, that was pretty much Monday Night Raw. Like I said, Carlito, that was great. We got to see him. It wasn't just a one-off thing. Matt Riddle, where do they go with him? Hopefully they're saving that for WrestleMania. Give him, the big win over Bobby Lashley. And like I said, for Damian Priest, if you're going to include him with The Miz and do all that stuff, it's got to be legit. And you got to give him, the briefcase so he can, kind of just elevate himself even more, because he's one of those guys who you want to market people, you want to attract people. He's one of the ones that you can do it. So, that was Monday Night Raw, guys. Thank you so much for watching the review. And of course, we will be here covering all the weekly shows. And like I said, please go check out, last night's Royal Rumble review. It got up a little late, and I'll say it again, but it's there in its entirety, and it is great. So check it out, what Juan and I thought about the winners, and, the performances of some of the people, and obviously the matches that accompany the two Rumbles. So thank you so much for watching, and don't forget, follow us, Rope Break on Facebook, the OG Rope Break on Twitter, Original Rope Break on Instagram, and of course, the home of the #1 podcast in the YouTube wrestling community, the Original Rope Break. So we will see you next time with NXT.